All right, good evening, Detachment 720. Today we have the honor in joining Samantha Simons in her promotion ceremony from Technical Sergeant to Master Sergeant. Please rise and prepare for the arrival of the official party. Today's invocation will be given by Cadet Alfred. Cadet Alfred, will you please come up to the podium?
Please bow your heads. Almighty God, creator of all, as we gather to celebrate the promotion of Sergeant Simons to the rank of Master Sergeant, our hearts are filled with happiness for her and her family. You have prepared Sergeant Simons for this day and blessed her with this special trust. You endowed her with abilities of mind, body, and spirit, more than equal to the task. You gave her leaders, mentors, and peers to help her along the way. You sustained her and protected her in days of difficulty and peril. Remembering that to whom much is given, much is required, I ask you to direct her steps and give her the strength to carry out her new responsibilities. Endow her with the spirit of wisdom and justice. We know all too well our weak and fallible human nature, and we recognize the work which lies before us is demanding and complex. Yet, O God, I thank you for calling us to this difficult and rewarding work. Lead Sergeant Simons and all of us, O Lord, in the way of peace. Unite us in the spirit of service. Nourish and sustain us in our vocation. For the sake of your holy name, amen.
Please be seated. Colonel Havard, will you please come forward and give today's promotional ceremony remarks?
So in order for our online guests to hear me, I am going to unmask for my comments. First of all, I want to say that today is a special day. Sergeant Simons is getting to do something that many of us never have the opportunity to do, and that's to promote alongside not only her family, but who for the last 3.5 years has been her revolving door, extended family. And let me be perfectly clear for those in the audience and online today. Today is a huge day for our Air Force and for Sergeant Simons, because she is joining, as of this day, as of this order, the Senior Non-Commissioned Officer Corps. That's the highest tier within our enlisted force, and whom separates our Air Force from everybody else that flies airplanes worldwide. Our force is the professional force it is due to senior non-commissioned officers. And as you'll learn today, it not only takes skill in one's trade, but it takes the ability to manage, the ability to lead, and also, as you will hear, a good bit of education. And for those that will be lieutenants in the not too distant future, and for at least the one lieutenant who's online with us today, who I'm sure she will affirm, beware when you're dealing with our enlisted force, because they very well can be more educated than you. So we're here to recognize and congratulate and eventually ordain as a Master Sergeant Sam Simons. But where did she come from? Well, she began and entered this world as I will call a post-war baby, because she did enter on the tail end of Operation Desert Storm. She came in the winter of that year, making her presence known with authority out in Sacramento, California. California's crazy. I haven't been stationed there for over 10 years, but we won't hold that against you. But we want to welcome family with her today. So Steve, Jackie, Linda, and then Zach's parents, Cheryl and Zach, thank you for being here, as well as everybody else that can join us online to recognize this superior enlisted airman who is soon to reach that upper rocker of senior non-commissioned officer. I've talked that she's very smart. She's smarter than me. I will tell you that. She achieved acceptance at an institution that wouldn't even have allowed me to interview for. She's smart. Challenges forced her to take a different journey to this particular day and this particular time. And that enlisted journey began at Little Rock Air Force Base, Arkansas in 2012, where she began to climb the ladder through what you will become known, those that enter active duty, the military personnel class, and all that it entails, because it really is the thread that binds all airmen together. You will enter the Air Force in the MPF, and you will exit the MPF. And she started on that exit point. Her first job was that as a retirement and separations technician. So she was everybody's best friend because she was that ticket out the door. When she signed off on you, your life on the other side began. She obviously did a good job there because they put her in a critical area right after that called career development. Career development is important because it matches our airmen to those things that they need to progress in their careers and to make sure that they are eligible and ready for their next promotion. From there, she went on to formal training, which is both a pleasure and a burden because everybody on that installation that goes to training goes through her. And if you read one of her decorations, and in 1 year, that included about 1,200 training cycles with 30,000 training days of which she managed. She did well in formal training, so they said, what's next? We'll give her the fun job of awards and decorations. People only think about awards and decorations when it comes time for their next promotion, and their awards and decorations were not properly updated. And then, once again, Sergeant Simons would have been their best friend in the MPF. She obviously delivered because her next job was probably one of the most cherished jobs in her career field, which was NCOIC, non-commissioned officer in charge of outbound assignments. That's really, at Little Rock, Arkansas, having been stationed there myself and gone through that element, your absolute best friend. I tell people I've been stationed overseas twice. I was at Osan Air Base, Republic of Korea, where my oldest daughter was born, and then I was in that other country called Arkansas, where my youngest was born. So again, what you see is that development as an airman. Along the way, she also completed Airman Leadership School, which is that first step in an enlisted airman's professional training to advance to be that non-commissioned officer. She had the opportunity to also deploy to No Cupcake Spot, Kandahar Air Base, Afghanistan. Okay, Kandahar was no man's land. I guarantee you there were not many days that she spent away from us in Afghanistan at that particular air base where she did not hear the sound of what we commonly call fireworks, but they were fireworks being shot at us. She did a great job there in what's called the personnel support contingency operations element, where she handled every airman that came through Kandahar Air Base to make sure that they were accounted for and they were prepared for their time there deployed. She also has participated in Honor Guard at base level. She brings a lot of skills to the table that we often take for granted. Having been a base level Honor Guard member as a lieutenant, I can tell you I absolutely would have relied upon people like then Airman, First Class, Senior Airman Simons to keep me out of trouble. But more importantly, what she picked up, other than experience at Little Rock, had to do with the critical part of her life. And I call that, then there's Zach. And if you know Zach, Zach brings color to anyone's life. Having spent time with him, I have enjoyed getting to know him. He is a former airman himself, having spent time as a production pro within our civil engineering community, and now has been that faithful sidekick to her in what we call Happy Valley. And that's where she came to, and where she has definitely grown as a leader and as a mentor over the last 3.5 years. She went right to the fire after that first year and spent her summer of 2019 down at field training in Montgomery, Alabama, where they pay you half-time to work about 18 hours a day. At the same time, she has returned and she's had to navigate this particular detachment through a lot of change, especially within the professional enlisted airmen that keep us afloat. It's been an entire turnover since her arrival to today, and it's also gotten smaller. I look to Sam every day to keep me in the confines of Happy Valley and out of trouble with my boss, and she delivers every time. She's a voice of reason. You have experienced that firsthand. So I say we only promote people for their ability to perform at the next higher grade. I won't only say why not senior non-commissioned officer for Samantha Simons, but that won't be the last stop on the senior NCO training. So Sergeant Simons, I want to thank you for your service, not only to this nation, but to this detachment, and all that you will do when you step away from this detachment for what's next at Hill Air Force Base, Utah, taking you closer back home to family, away from some others. But you're always near extended family. Having spent 31 years in uniform, I tell people is, you know you've been around a minute when you can't drive more than 4 to 6 hours in any given direction, and you can't have a contact by text or phone that you couldn't stay the night. And I'm sure her career has begun to hit that point in her lifetime. So if you have no opposition, I would like to get this party started and invite you up here to bring you into the ranks of Master Sergeant. Thank you very much.
You guys just move over to the left like a little bit. Like, good.
Publish the order.
Attention to orders. Technical Sergeant Samantha N. Simons, Detachment 720, Air Force ROTC, State College, Pennsylvania, is promoted to Master Sergeant in the United States Air Force, effective and with date of rank 1 February 2022, by the authority of AFI 36-2502.
Achieving that line number this month of 2,526 in your senior NCO class, I present to you, soon to be Master Sergeant, and Zach says it's okay to pay you.
Facing the camera. So, I'm a little old school. Back when I promoted, there were 2. So she's gonna get tacked on twice. So
final. And that is, she has to affirm to the duties of which we expect a senior non-commissioned officer to perform at. And we're going to call a former NCO up here who is now on his track to becoming an officer here in May. Cadet Jeffries, would you come forward and make sure this airman is ready to be the senior non-commissioned officer? Please go to the microphone.
Masters of assignments, please repeat after me. I am a senior non-commissioned officer in the United States Air Force.
I am a senior non-commissioned officer in the United States Air Force.
I hold allegiance to my country,
I hold allegiance to my country,
devotion to duty,
devotion to duty,
and personal integrity above all.
and personal integrity above all.
I wear my rank of authority with dignity.
I wear my rank of authority with dignity.
I promote the highest standards of conduct, appearance, and performance by setting the example.
I promote the highest memory skills.
Standards of conduct,
Promote the highest standards of conduct,
appearance,
appearance,
and performance by setting the example.
and performance by setting example.
I seek no favors because of my rank.
I seek no favors because of my rank.
I am devoted to the concept
I am devoted to the concept
of service rather than personal gain.
of service rather than personal gain.
I uphold the tradition of senior non-commissioned officers who precede me.
I uphold the tradition of senior non-commissioned officers that precede me.
I manage resources under my control
I manage resources under my control
with astute efficiency
with astute efficiency
and lead the way with the highest level of confidence.
and lead the way with the highest level of confidence.
I always strive to merit
I always strive to merit
the respect of my fellow senior non-commissioned officers
the respect of my fellow senior non-commissioned officers
and all with whom I come in contact.
and all with whom I come in contact.
All right.
Thank you. Please be seated. I'm going to take a page out of Colonel Havard's notes and go maskless so that everyone online can hear me as well. So I wrote up some notes so I could actually remember everyone to thank, because there's probably 160 people in this room and my memory apparently is not that great. So good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for this ceremony. I truly am honored that there are so many of you here, both in person and online, to support me in this transition. No one achieves recognition or promotion alone, and I'd like to take a minute to recognize some of you who have helped me on this journey. First of all, my husband, Zach, thank you for supporting me every day. Thank you for the sacrifices you made so we could be here together, for putting up with my crazy hours and all my crazy schoolwork that I've never ever procrastinated on. And I promise no more 13-hour Tuesdays once we get to Utah. Secondly, all of my family members who've joined us online, Smiths, Sotos, and Simonses. Apparently I like the letter S. Thank you for your love and support every day. So glad you were able to attend today, as well as everyone else who joined us through Zoomland. One of the few silver linings that came out of COVID is we can share these moments with people West Coast, East Coast, and everywhere in between. Thank you, Lieutenant Colonel Kelly and Mrs. Newman, for helping put this together. Your support, respect, and wisdom are appreciated and noted daily. Thank you, Cadet Taglieri, for coordinating, and Cadet Stafford for narrating for us today. Colonel Havard, thank you for officiating both today and my re-enlistment last week. I truly appreciate your leadership and mentorship. Colonel Oz, Sergeant Owens, any other random cadre online, thank you for keeping me on track day in and day out and helping me wrangle these cadets into officers. And speaking of wrangling cadets, you all play an integral component to my promotion. Most technical sergeants hone their leadership skills by running shops, or sections. They have teams of staff sergeants and airmen that they're responsible for on the day-to-day. I had you guys. I have honed my skills by making lieutenants. By the time I leave here, I will have had a hand in making 80 lieutenants. Thank you, current 400, for boosting that by 30. When you added all of the cadets who are actively in the program or who joined and were unable to complete the program, I don't think I can count the number of college students I've had the chance to work with. As you guys know, NCOs are SMEs, both in active duty and here in the detachment. The transition to senior non-commissioned officer is to become a mentor and a manager, a lot closer to where you guys will start as young lieutenants. I have definitely flexed my mentorship skills here. Some days it's fun, like ladies' night, which I've gotten to do every semester since I've been here. And some days it's a little bit less fun. Anyone willing to admit they were scared of me during NCOP? One or two? Yes! Either way, being a good mentor, being a good leader, requires knowledge of and enforcing standards, even the standards you don't love. I've strived each and every day to treat you as I would my airmen. And yes, that does mean that Zach knows about all of your shenanigans. Ask Game and I turned him into a tomato in the hall earlier. That NCO and senior NCO to CGO relationship continues when you get on to active duty. In a few months or a few years, you will find yourself in charge of airmen like myself and Sergeant Owens. And Guardians. Can't forget my Space Force brothers and sisters. Don't assume that burden of leadership alone. There will be a senior NCO or a seasoned tech sergeant assigned as your right-hand man or woman. Please use them. Please. They're any good at what they do. They won't just help you understand the dynamics at play within the work center. They will help ensure that you understand where you fit in the mission. It's not all easy. Not all of us fly jets. And we will give you the space to make your own decisions. I hope I've been able to model that relationship, and I continue to do so throughout this semester. There we go. For those of you online, the doors in this building are very touchy. If they're open too long, they like to beep. I also hope one day, sometime in the future, you'll encounter a situation somewhere in the back of your head. You'll hear a voice that says, Sergeant Simon said something about this. And this could be anything from a crazy airman story, to a standard I lovingly whacked you upside the head with, to a base agency that can help you in that moment. You've all hoped to help. I'm choking up. You all have touched my life over the last few years. I hope I can do the same for you. Thank you again for coming, and let's have some cake.
She has one more official duty she has to perform.
One more oath. See if I can follow the leader this time.
I state your name.
I, Samantha Nicole Simon,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to support and defend
to support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
that I bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
and I will obey the orders of the President of the United States
and I will obey the orders of the President of the United States
and the officers appointed over me,
and the officers appointed over me,
according to military regulations
according to military regulation
and the Uniform Code of Military Justice.
and the Uniform Code of Military Justice.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Congratulations to Master Sergeant Simons on her promotion to Master Sergeant, and joining the ranks of the Senior NCO Corps. Light refreshments will be served after the ceremony. Please rise as Master Sergeant Simons leads us in singing the first verse of the Air Force song, followed by the departure of the official party.
Off we go.